Here's a riddle for you. A man rides into town on Wednesday, stays for 3 days, and then leaves on Wednesday. That's the riddle, and I'll let you know the answer at the end of the video. The US dollar is pushing up quite strongly here, as expected. We're looking at, this is a 50% target and this is a 61.8% target. We're looking at an ABC correction, so the A wave here, the B wave here, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's all sort of playing out quite nicely. If we take an internal view of this, the structure is like this. So everything's going pretty much according to plan here. So we've got wave A here, wave B here, and then wave 1, and we'll talk about wave 2 in a minute, but then wave 3, 4, and 5. Now, while this is moving up here, it's going to put pressure on, well, all markets pretty much outside the US, and commodities are traded in US dollars, so they're going to reset, and we've been looking, at those markets, and yeah, so it can put pressure on a lot of companies in the US, depending if they're importing or exporting, those sorts of things, so it does apply pressure. But that's where we are in the count, and I'm thinking that we've got wave B here, we've got 5 waves up for wave 1 here, and then the A, the B, and the C wave for the wave 2, and then moving to the upside. It's rather big for a wave 2 compared to the trend here, so that's a little bit concerning. So perhaps I've got it wrong and we can put wave 2 in here or something like that as the A wave, the B wave, and the C wave here, and then continue to move up at that point. I'm not quite sure about that, but the trend is still to the upside. That's the main takeaway with this. So with the S&P, I would like to, because of the US dollar pushing up, I'd like to have a look at the bullish count and the bearish count, just to be balanced in our view about this. And so let's take a look at the bearish side of the market first. One of the things that that I've always sort of held on to tightly is my trading levels idea, and as just simple support and resistance, really. I won't go into what the trading levels are, but at the 4,000, I just call that a medium level. And for us to go bullish, we need that as support. And what the market's doing at the moment, it has edged higher here and created a high above the level, and it is retesting the price point, and it will either find it as support or resistance, and then we can make a solid move from that point. Now, I am slightly bullish. However, there is a bearish picture to this, of course, and that would just simply be the A wave, the B wave, and the C wave here to this point. There's a couple of things with this. We can see that we can see the stochastics here that are quite toppy in this case. We can also see the divergence in here for the indicator folks. So that is what it is at this point. So what we've got here is we're looking at a stronger US dollar, and we're looking at a possible ABC pattern here for this market. And this is on a weekly chart here, of course. And yeah, so we'll see how this plays out. If I have the bearish counts on the 50k and the 1k. I'll go to the 50k just so you've got some idea of how that would look. So that would look here as the A wave, the B wave, and the C wave up here for the B wave. And then this is a little bit bullish, this particular pattern here, but on the bearish side we can find it as wave 1 here, and then an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave up here for wave 2 at that point. So that would be the 1 and the 2 there, a bit of an expanded flat correction, and then we could just view all of this as a 3rd, 4th, and 5th wave. So if we do get 5 waves down here, then we can view that as wave 1 here, and then 2 over here. And if that is the case, then this wave 2 here, we will need to look at building short positions in here. So there would be some sort of ABC pulling back up 50 or 60%, the retesting supply and all of those sort of things. So we could go short here with full positions. And if we do have 5 waves here, and I can see that in the stock market as well, I mean this is the stock market, but within certain stocks, then we can move on that as we can move in higher up here for that at the turn here. So that's what I would be viewing the market as being bearish at this point, and that's how we would approach it at that point. So that said, that's the bearish side. So we might as well just go to start with the daily chart now. So on the bullish side of the equation, it's like this here. We've got wave 1 and wave 2 here, and wave 1 and wave 2 pulling back to the 61.8%. The 50% would be a little bit higher at that particular point. It's kind of interesting. Most of the markets that are outside of the US, they have pretty much from the October lows, they have pretty much given us an impulse wave to the upside. Most of the markets outside of the US. So most of those markets outside of the US, we're looking at wave 1 here and wave 2, and there's a pretty good case of having 5 waves up here for that. But the US markets, especially the S&P, has got this situation where we've got 1 here and 2 here, which opens the door up for being more sort of bearish. Now, there are stocks that have got 5 waves up here, and I think we should just look at a couple of those. So one is Apple. So it started a bit late, not so much in the October run to the upside, but it there's a good case, let's say, for, I know it can be counted in different ways up here. It's a tricky little count, this one, but looking at 5 waves up here, and we're looking for an ABC pattern here. And this is quite an interesting pattern here, really, at the top here. If I could just take the side street here and just go into the intraday and have a little look at this particular pattern at the top here, because this is very similar to this pattern here. So if we go in here, perhaps on the next degree smaller here, the 20,000 here, we can start to see, you can count this as different. We could put the A wave here as well for this. There's different ways to look at that, but here nor there at this particular point in time. But when we look at this pattern on Apple here, we've got the same pattern. Now there's pretty much the same day here. I think this is maybe a day out or something on this one, but basically they've got the same pattern. And the interesting thing here that I wanted to point out, in this instance, this makes a nice B wave up here. Pretty hard to get a C wave out of it. It's possible we could go a little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that would mean we could put wave 1 over here, then an A and a B and a C over here for that. But it counts better as a corrective pattern in here. And if it is corrective here, then it makes whatever's happening over here also corrective as well. So this is a good case of having actually a corrective pattern in play here. I know that when a market's come down like this, we tend to mirror the situation and turn bearish as well in that, and emotions can get the better of us. So it's a bit difficult to detach ourselves from what's actually going on, but a glass of wine or a nice big Scooby can help you with that. Not that I drink or smoke anymore, but yeah, I just do meditation, so that helps me detach. But in one way or another, you've got to kind of take yourself out of the picture. So yeah. So anyway, 2 similar patterns here. Yeah, but this one here is quite corrective in nature. It's a good case for a bullish case in this case, and also the 5 waves up here that I've mentioned as well. The other one that's a little bit more obvious in terms of being bullish is Tesla here. So with Tesla here, which I forgot to put in the stocks video this morning, sorry about that. If the chart's not there, I don't do it, but I realised later that I didn't do it. But either way, I mean, in this case here, this is a beautiful 5-wave structure up here. There's a couple of little situations in here that could be counted differently, but just generally speaking, we've got a nice wave 1 and 2, and then we've got 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, a nice third wave building. You know, it's a nice structure. You know, it's an impulse wave in the opposite direction of the previous trend here, and there's a good case for this being corrective in nature as well. And if this is corrective, it makes all of this corrective, you know, and eventually we'll take out the top here based on this impulse wave here. Yeah, it could get a bit weirder. It could go an A and a B and a C wave here, and then have a C wave here, and then go up. And you know, because corrections are out of the 11 or 12 different types of corrections, they can all be a bit of a nightmare to a point. But point being here is that we do have 5 waves to the upside from this point, and there's markets around the world that anything outside the US has pretty much got the same sort of thing. So I'm saying that there is a very good case, even though the S&P hasn't really moved up off its lows very well. Even the tech sector, you know, the tech sector hasn't. The communication sector, you know, there's good cases for those particular markets to bearish. This is the communication sector here with Apple and Meta in here. Meta's another one that's got another nice 5 waves to the upside. This one here is dominated by Google, and there's 3 waves to the upside. So we could put a wave B here, you know. It's possible. We could also look at it being, you know, bullish as well. But in this case here, it looks like we need to sort of have some sort of ABC pattern here before moving up, and look at it as 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. But you know, so there's other sectors that you know, the industrial sector has been very strong, but this market, the S&P, has been quite weak. But what we're going to do now is just drill in here to understand this here a little bit differently. Now this is the 20k, so we're just going to go into the 10k. Normally has a different count on it, but I'll just use it as this. So we've got wave 1 over here. In this case, we've got an ABC here, the B wave 1 and 2, and 1 2 3 4 5 for the third wave, 4th and 5th. Now there is a case for having this wave 5 low in here already for this, but when I look at the stock market, which I won't go into at the moment, we're just with stocks, there does seem to be another 4th and a 5th to go as a general consensus among the stocks that we look at. We look at about a dozen stocks or whatever it is, and yeah, so the consensus is that there's another 4 and 5th to go. So yeah, so you know, we'd expect a consolidation around the number 4 here, this large number. You know, we've had sort of consolidations there. It's likely to have more there, and I'm really hoping, you know, that we do get a little 4th and a 5th here, because what it does at that point, it means that it's tested below the level here, and that means that if it gets support back up here, then that first high above the level is really the thing that you're looking for. That's the point that you'd go long at, and we can talk about that in a bit more detail. But if it tests below the level and then gets up there again, that's a very strong indication and great setup to start building into the long position, especially if we can get 5 waves in this first little leg here for this. So anyway, the takeaway here is that yes, it is possible to have wave 5 sitting on this low here, especially if you put wave B over here for that. And then the NASDAQ's also got a really good case for having a low in right here as well. But I'm not going to move on it, because the stocks are telling me that we've got another little dog leg to go down here. And the other thing that we're looking for as well is from this low here, let's just drill in a little bit further on the 5k tick chart to get a bit more detail on this. So what we're looking for, it doesn't matter if it's from here or we have a dog leg and we come to here. What we're looking for is we want 5 waves to move us up here, right, as a classic trading levels pattern. So It's a classic trading levels pattern here. If this is the 4,000 here, we want this sitting here. We want it'll come up and hit the 4,000, drop back, push up. We don't chase that up there because most of the time it's going to fold back on you. It doesn't always fold back. It can do this here and then just continue to the upside. But if we take that first high here and then move into the second high here, we're normally quite safe. Now this is this will happen 10-20% of the time, but this one here will happen most of the time. So we don't normally chase this one going up here. We wait for it to fold back and we get our timing right, and then we come in over here for that. So we want that level as support, and we also want to see 5 waves up here. If we've got 5 waves up here from the low, and we can go long above the top here, but if we can get the second high, that's good. If we get triggered here, for instance, then the stop will need to go under the low here. So that's where the setup will be. If that gets triggered, then you can bring that up to under this low here for that, and then you reduced your first initial risk at that particular point. You have to be careful about the first wave going up, because if you get 1 and 2 here, and then 3 and 4 and 5, don't forget you can still have a 60, 70, 80% pullback again, and it normally takes you out. So following it up too close is dangerous. You either take it at the top, or don't put so much in the first place and then build in on the bigger fractal when it comes, just keep building in that way. So you need to give this a lot of thought, because it's not always as easy as one thinks it is of just getting in, because the trick is, the aim is to manage your exposure at all times. So let's just go into, I don't know what I've got on the 1,000 tick here at the moment, nothing, because it's a bearish count, but the 100, let's just break this down a bit further. So yeah, we got this as the B wave here, and I'm looking at this as 1 here. I know it's not a very nice 1 and 2 here, but it does give me an extra move down. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, but I understand that I can have this over here. And I know that I can have the low completed at this point, but it's not what the stocks are telling me. The NASDAQ is telling me that we've got a low in place here as well, but in this case 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 here. I think we've got a low in here now, because I was just counting this down here. I didn't really do a good job on that, still didn't finish it. But anyway, so basically what can happen here is we could get a bounce off this level here that would take us back to the 40-50, which is the 38.2% retracement level. Will it go that high? I don't know. Might just come back and go into above the 30 here, because this 30 really becomes the resistance at this point. So when we look at the NASDAQ here just for a moment, in its pattern here, it's also very difficult to count 5 waves down here, isn't it? Do you know? So it doesn't really look like a bearish pattern here, it's more like it's corrective. That's the picture that I'm getting. So in case the B wave here is quite nice and simple here, it's a nice ABC, well, a little bit complicated, but mostly there. But here, what I wanted to point out is quite clearly we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so we could have a low in coming in here soon. But I'm thinking that I just think that we've got one more little move here to go. So I'm not ready to go just yet. The FOMC are chatting tomorrow at 2 o'clock ET time. So let's get past that situation. That's something that could give us that spike, you know what I mean? Something like this, But I'm thinking that we can go long on Friday, maybe even Thursday afternoon, if everything sort of shores up okay. So we've been looking for the low. We're getting closer to it. There's some markets like the NASDAQ that can say that, well, we've got a low in place here now, Pete. All we need to do is count 5 waves down through here. But yeah, we're just going to wait see what Wednesday looks like, and Thursday. But hopefully we'll be on our horse riding off into the sunset on the Friday. And the the Russell also quite bearish. Now, I'm wondering, I'm not quite sure which top that I should use here, because it does appear that I got 5 waves here. It feels like I need to use that, but then I've also feels like I got 5 waves here as well. But just looking at this generally speaking here, I still think there's, in this case, there's still a another move down here for this, some sort of wave 4 and wave 5 to come down here. I don't think that we've landed yet for this. We'll see. We've got this wave 2 here, which is quite complex. So wave 4 can be simple, guideline of alternation, so to speak. And yeah, so we still need to come down. So we don't need to do anything. This is what I was saying in the stock video. We just don't need to do anything yet. We don't need to be short at this point. We don't need to be long. I just feel that we need to allow these markets to land, and we'll look at the volume on the stocks, and we'll see if the sellers are drying up tomorrow, and we'll see if, you know, what we'll see if the buyers are coming in and all of these sort of things. But I just don't think we're here yet for this, you know. And the Dow Jones, so it's rolling over here now, so we'll look at this as wave 1 here with an A and a B and a C. So we need to sort of see a bit more to come down here. This really reminds me of this pattern here, this top, and this move here. I know that this is also in, you know, the S&P and so on, but it's got more, you know, it's got more sort of legs to the upside on this, but it reminds me very much of Berkshire Hathaway here. So this particular pattern here and this pattern here, they're kind of very similar to each other, really. So I can see with Berkshire Hathaway here that we've actually got wave 1 here and 2 here, then 1, 2, 3 here. So I still need 4 and 5 here, but this could take 5 to 7 days, I reckon, here. So this could take 5 to 7 days. So then I kind of wonder about, well, you know, that would be about sort of right for the US dollar to push higher as well over that 5 to 7 days. But where would that leave the S&P, I wonder, you know? So there's a few things that I haven't sort of sorted out. But in the short term, I think that, you know, that, you know, I kind of make my decisions by looking at the big tech stocks and the banks, and seeing where they are. And I just think that I just want to see them sort of finish off a little bit, you know. This is the Bank of America here. We're looking at wave 1 up here with an A wave and a B wave, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down here. So just don't think we're finished yet. In the stocks are telling me that we're not finished, you know. So yeah, I just want to wait it out a little bit and see how these land, and everything always takes longer than you think it does. And you know, if I'm thinking that we could go long on the Friday, it may not be until next Wednesday or even following Friday. I don't know. I mean, but I can still see we've got a little bit more to go down. This is what the stocks are telling me. We need 4 and 5 to go. So, you know, that's going to show up in the indices in in one way or another. So, alrighty, I'll leave it at that. And the answer to the riddle is that the horse, when he rode into town on Wednesday and stayed a couple of days and rode out on Wednesday, the horse is called Wednesday. Alrighty, thanks for tuning in. Cheers.